Hello, welcome back to KXAM Plus. I'm your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and today we have our Nick's First Warning weather stream with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon. Nick, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
I feel so bad. We don't want to be here telling everybody about how hot it is in May. This is usual for July and August, but May, way too soon to be talking about this, but here we are. It's what we've got, and we'll all get through it together, but just, don't hate the messenger, right?
Yeah, we just heard from the city and the county about some severe heat preparations. So Let's dive into it. What are we looking at this week?
Well, we could be breaking records just about every day of the next 6 at least. These are the current temperatures. This is live as we do this live stream here at 3:15 in the afternoon. We're at 97 in Austin at Camp Mabry, so we are well on our way to triple digits here today. And you can see we've already got some triple digits in parts of the hill country. Llanos at 104, San Saba and Mason at 101. So we're getting there. And in fact, the air continues to dry out. Notice how low the dew points are in the hill country, 30s and 40s, even some 50s. That is pretty dry air. And as that drier air continues to slowly work its way east, that drier air is easier to heat up. So we're going to find a late day spike in high temperatures in the metro. We think that the driest of air is not going to make it to our eastern counties today. So that's why some of our eastern counties are expecting 90s instead of triple digits for the most part. But we'll keep drying out that air over the next hour or two in the Austin metro. Dew points at least dropping into the 50s, possibly lower. And that should allow temperatures to jump up quite a bit here over the next hour or two. We also have a noticeable breeze. And interestingly enough, you can tell almost where the dry line is because ahead of the dry line, we've got a south wind as I draw those arrows on the map. And then behind the dry line, we've got this westerly wind. My arrow drawing is not working out super well here.
Coming from the Mason area?
Yeah, so say coming almost due west is that wind coming into the hill country. So that's a sign of that drier air taking over that will allow temperatures to spike. So we expect to get up to 102 in Austin here today.
No.
That would easily smash the previous record high for today's date of 98 set back in 1925. Not only would it be 102 today, would be a daily record high, it would be our new hottest day of the year. And it would also be the earliest, the third earliest that we would have had triple digit heat in Austin. So a lot of things just about today alone would be record breaking or close to record breaking. And that says nothing about what we're expecting here tomorrow.
Wow. I heard from a little birdie that the meteorologists were doing their guesses as to how many hot days we're going to have in Central Texas. What was your guess?
My guess was 40, which is about 8 days more triple digits than we had last year. So just about all of our guesses were above last year of 32. It's all above average, which is in the 20s. So, but this early season heat where we may add up 5-6 triple digit days here in May alone, we may have to start revising some of our numbers already because we usually don't factor in May triple digit heat. It does not happen all that often, but here we are. Let me show you what we're expecting then as far as putting this in perspective. The hottest temperatures that we've had so far this year before today, March 14th, so almost 2 months ago. Today is the 13th. So 96 degrees on March 14th. And we haven't had anything that has topped that since until today. May 1st, we got to 94. April 18th, 14th, 13th, and March 13th, we got to 93. So this is easily the hottest day of the year already. And we're not done seeing these temperatures climb. And it has been a full 112 days since we last had triple digit heat in Austin. So we've had a nice break, although that October triple digit day was late anyway. And now we're starting the triple digit heat earlier in this month of May. A lot of signs are pointing to this being much more likely due to climate change. You can't look at any one weather event and say that's caused by climate change, but you can look at individual weather events and say that they are much more likely to have been caused by climate change, especially when you look at the trends of heat over time and the expansion of our season of triple-digit days over time. And Climate Central actually put together some information, which you'll be able to see in my blog, all about the triple-digit correlations to our changing and warming climate. Just to put this in perspective, our first triple-digit day is usually not until July 4th. So
Wow.
we're talking 6.5 weeks earlier than normal getting triple-digit heat in Austin, and not just a one-off 100-degree day and then fall, but several triple-digit days in a row. Right now, we're still forecasting 6 days, roughly 6 days in a row of triple-digit heat. So this is far from normal, and the National Weather Service actually calling it historic, because this will likely go down in the history books and stay there for a while, we think, as being just such an unusual round of heat so early in the year.
Yeah.
We're much more used to this in July and August, right? And our bodies by then are usually acclimatized to the heat and to some extent the humidity too. While it can still get dangerously hot in the summer, we're more used to it by then.
Yeah.
Our bodies are used to it. We sort of know what to do. But then when it sneaks up on us like it does here this time, then it can come as a shock to the system a little bit. And that's why we've got to get extra careful about some of the things that we're doing over the next several afternoons, especially as our humidity starts to ramp up as well.
Yeah, Nick, I think the million-dollar question that everyone has is this a taste of summer, or is this summer starting already?
You know, we think it's a taste of summer. We've had plenty of 90s already this year too. There was a point up in April that we had never had as many 90s as we had already had through that date. And then we actually cooled off a little bit, which was nice. But we think it's a taste of summer. We do see some signs that our triple-digit heat starts to fade as we head through next week. We'll be releasing our summer outlook here in the next couple of weeks here on KXAN. And we certainly think it's going to be a hot summer.
Yeah.
But we don't think that this is summer beginning early and then staying with us forever. We do think we'll try to return back to our typical late spring wet weather pattern, not quite as hot as this pattern here soon enough. Let's go back to some of the numbers here, because the earliest first triple-digit day, we've only had 2 years where we've had our first triple-digit day of the year come earlier than this, 1984 and 1998. So triple digits expected either today or tomorrow, and we're still heavily leaning on it being today, would mean that this was the third earliest first triple-digit day in Austin area history. Even if for some reason we hit 99 today instead of 102, we'll most certainly hit triple digits tomorrow, but we think we're going to do it today with that high of 102.
And what are we expecting tomorrow?
We're expecting 105 here tomorrow.
Wow.
So even more likely to get above and, well, at least into and above the triple-digit mark. These are the hottest days we've ever had in May. 104 back in 1925, 102 in 1998, and then 101 in 2008 and 2003, and 100 in 2022, 2011, 2004, and 1984. And tell you, people will often point, or they will point to that extreme of 104 in 1925, and they will say, oh, well, where was climate change then? What was the reason back then? Mm-hmm. We're not saying that we can't have extreme heat at any time of year in previous years. We're not saying that that didn't happen. Yeah. We're saying it's much more likely to happen now because of human-caused climate change. So that's the distinction there. Yes, there have been hot days, outrageously cold days, and all sorts of extremes previously, but they're much more likely now. Before, they were more rare. Now they're more likely. So that's the difference there. And by the way, since we're forecasting 105 here tomorrow, we have not ever had high temperatures of 105 or hotter before June 12th in Austin area history. And these numbers go back all the way to the late 1800s.
And so, we're in May.
And we're in May, and we could get it here tomorrow, which would be several weeks earlier than the earliest ever 105-degree day in Austin area history.
Wow.
So this is incredible heat, the kind of which is certainly not common for mid-May. Our average high this time of year is in the mid-80s, and we're talking about temperatures being 20 degrees above normal for this time of year by the time we get into tomorrow. I know that'll be a good time to take a little break, but we've got certainly more to talk about as far as the triple digit heat. There's more records that we haven't talked about yet. And let's talk about the overall pattern and when the temperatures may start coming down. We'll do that after the break. Sound good?
Yeah, we'll be right back. And we're back here on KXAN Plus with KXAN's chief meteorologist, Nick Bannon, to talk about record-breaking heat that we are expecting this week.
And there's records that may break every single day. Today being the first, we already mentioned that we're forecasting a high of 102 and the record being 98. Tomorrow's forecast of 105 would break the previous record high for tomorrow's date in Austin at Camp Mabry of 97. So breaking a record by 8 degrees is significant. Going with 101 on Thursday, that would break the record by 3 degrees. 100 on Friday would break the existing high temperature record by 1 degree, and breaking the record on Saturday, we're expecting to break it by 2 degrees. And we may yet break the record on Sunday and Monday as well before we start to go below record heat by next Tuesday. So remember over the weekend, Esme, we had pretty comfortable air. We had 80s. We had a few showers and storms around on Saturday. The mornings were cool. It was so nice, right?
Yeah, perfect Mother's Day.
I know. It was really great, wasn't it? So that was because the area of low pressure that you see at the top right of your screen, it was just to the east of us. And around a low is counterclockwise flow. So we were getting north breezes on over both days of the weekend. That north wind keeping the temperatures down despite a lot of sunshine. That north wind also keeping the humidity down too. So you may say, oh, we have sunshine here, we have sunshine there, why is it so much hotter? Well, that's because the low has been moving away since Sunday. It moved away a little yesterday, so temperatures jumped 5 to 10 degrees in most places. And it's further away today, and at the same point, this area of high pressure is closing in. High pressure, air, compressing air, and we also get a west-southwesterly wind which can go down the hill country and compress the air further, causing temperatures to really spike. And then you add a dry line that's adding extra dry air, which is super easy to heat up. And all of these factors are coming together to give us incredibly hot heat here for tomorrow. The hottest May day ever on the way here for tomorrow. So we do think that the temperatures spike tomorrow and then come down a little bit. That's because the humidity comes up. So it's not going to feel like heat relief on Thursday, even though we go from 105 to 101, because at the same point, the humidity's almost going the other direction. Temperatures go down, humidity goes up. That extra humid air is harder to heat up, so that's why temperatures are not quite as hot. But it's still going to feel like 105 to 110 much of the end of the week and possibly into the weekend. 100 or 101 is what we're looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then finally Monday into Tuesday of next week, we're looking like we'll see temperatures coming down. And one of the favorite graphics that I know is a fan favorite of many of our viewers, and they'll ask us where it is if we didn't show it during a particular newscast. They love it so much, and so do we. It's the muggy meter, tracking the rising and falling of the dew point. And the dew point there on the right, I typically say anytime the dew point is 60 or above, you start feeling that humidity in the air. Dew point below 60, the air is so relatively comfortable. As comfortable as it can be with the triple digits, by the way. So we're not saying super comfortable, but at least from a humidity perspective, not outrageous. But as we head into the day tomorrow, we're going to start noticing the air getting a little more humid, but the dew point still dries up during the afternoon. Some drier air above our heads mixes down to the ground, and that allows the temperatures to jump. But as we get into Thursday, we don't notice the big dew point drops in the afternoon as much. They drop a little bit, but not as much. So in fact, we get into Friday, we go from humid to very humid and then back down to humid. We never drop down to muggy or comfy. So the air, the lowest humidity, even when it dries out a little bit during the afternoon, still stays humid or above. And then every morning is very humid. So the most humid part of the day technically is going to be in the morning when the dew points will be higher Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then the afternoon, the dew point drops a few degrees, making it feel not quite as humid later in the day, but the air temperature goes up. So some of the most humid air of the year coming as we head through the end of the week and into the weekend. So significant heat, record-breaking heat, daily records hottest May day ever, third earliest first triple-digit day ever. And I think by the time, this is a record that I haven't included yet, by the time we look at, say, a 7-day stretch of temperatures in May, I think this will be the hottest May week on record too.
Wow.
There's been, and on our article, maybe you can put it up, on KXAN.com, I dived into all the records that we could potentially break here over the coming week. And if you scroll down to the records that we're competing against there, the individual daily records, there's a couple of them there, those records, the pre-existing ones from 1925. But most of the records that we're competing against over the next week
are from 2022.
2022,
yeah.
Exactly. And that was an incredibly hot year for us here in Central Texas. So we're competing with another recent year for an incredibly hot May week. And then again, at the bottom of our article, we show you what Climate Central put together as far as their climate shift index, which is where they look at how likely is climate change a contributing factor in the weather and temperatures that you're experiencing that day. Some days where temperatures are closer to normal, it's unlikely that climate change is playing a significant factor. Mm-hmm. And then on days like today and especially tomorrow, when temperatures are incredibly above normal, then it becomes much more likely that climate change is a contributing factor. And remember, there will also be people that say, but it's because we're building so much here in Austin. That's why it's so hot. But that doesn't explain why rural areas are also seeing this very early season heat, right? Mm-hmm. That also doesn't explain why the oceans are warming. There's no concrete and asphalt in the oceans, no giant skyscrapers in the oceans either. So that's how we know that we can point the finger at climate change as being a very likely contributing factor, at least, in the type of heat that we're experiencing here, not just today, but this week. And as we've been talking, I think Lana has jumped another degree. We'll get our next temperature update from Austin's Camp Mabry at 4, and I think we'll be around 99 or 100 by then. And we'll certainly have broken the daily record by then too. So I know there's a lot to wrap your head around, and some of it you just don't want to watch or hear about because you're like, it's hot, I don't need to know how hot it is. I don't need to know about the records.
Television kicks in.
I just want to stay in my air conditioning right now. But it is important to know sort of, the blame for where this is coming from, putting it in some historical perspective. It's not just a one-off hot day. It's several hot days. And this can wear on your body too. And it can become actually rather dangerous, this early season heat, because of the fact that our bodies haven't acclimatized yet.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a reminder, we do still have heat advisories for the entire area today, and they continue until 1 o'clock tomorrow. And in many areas, after 1 tomorrow, those heat advisories get replaced by extreme heat warnings. Now, for the first time actually ever, the warning is called an extreme heat warning. It used to be known as an excessive heat warning. You and I talked about this in the wintertime. Yeah. National Weather Service doing some adjustments to some of the watches and warnings to keep them aligned. So in the winter, it's extreme cold warning. In the summer now, it's extreme heat warning rather than excessive heat warning to keep the naming structure roughly the same. So this is technically our first extreme heat warning ever in Austin and throughout much of Central Texas, but somewhat due to a technicality. But this basically means that many of us will be around 105 or hotter here tomorrow afternoon. Now, thankfully, tomorrow afternoon, there's not going to be a lot of humidity, a little more humid than today. So there won't be a huge difference between the air temperature and the feels like temperature. It'll be pretty close tomorrow afternoon during the peak of the heat anyway. Mm-hmm. But then as we get later in the week, as the temperatures drop and the humidity goes up, there will be more of a difference between the air temperature and the feels like temperature. You'll be adding several degrees to that, making it feel still like 105 to 110 later in the week.
Well, thanks so much, Nick, for sharing all this with us. I know it's fun to talk about the record-breaking numbers and the years and all that stuff, but we do need to remember to take this seriously and take all the safety precautions that we can.
Yeah, and we've got various articles about heat safety, and we've been talking to a lot of folks who can describe the difference between heat stroke, heat exhaustion, that sort of thing, and you've got to watch out for those warning signs, but you also got to use your best judgment too. Hottest part of the day, afternoon and early evening. You got to drink plenty of water, not just during that activity, but pre-hydration is a thing too. You can hydrate hours before you know you're going to be out exerting yourself, and that's going to help you out as well. Get some shade, get some AC, and check in on your neighbors and the elderly and all that too.
Yes, and remember, if you put your hand on the asphalt and it's hot for your hand, it's hot for your pets.
Yes, and we've got a cool tool on a hot tool on kxan.com, the pavement heat tracker. That's under our weather page, where you can get an estimate of what the pavement temperatures are like for your four-legged friends and what their paws may be feeling. So yes, put your hand down to feel that, but you can also look at our pavement heat tracker too before you even step outside.
Well, thanks for joining us, Nick. We'll see you on air at 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I'll be on air at 4, bringing you all of this fun yet somewhat sad news about all the heat. But we will be talking about some of the rain and storm chances that start to return later this week too, and I know we're all excited for that.
Yes, we are. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Thanks.